Hello everyone, and in today's video we'll be looking at episode 3 of What If Civilization Started Over, and I'm very happy with this series as I like it a lot. So let's start, and remember to like and subscribe. First, over to Iberia. It's not really surprising. It'll, all of Iberia will be discovered, and will even move into Morocco and modern day Morocco and Algeria. And yeah, these guys in Tunisia will also start exploring more land until eventually all of the Mediterranean is finally known about. Which is great news, as our first ever sea is known about, or ocean, whatever you want to call it. It's not an ocean, it's a sea, whatever you want to call it. First big body of water has been fully known about. Apart from like the Caspian Sea and Black Sea, but they don't count. Speaking to the Caspian Sea, this grey team here will start trying to find a sea. So like spearhead out to try find water. What they end up finding though is a lake, and they think it's a sea as they haven't really properly explored it, and this will get a lot of attention. The grey team will start expanding too, and yeah, no one can really stop them as their grey team is pretty much the only country in this area. I mean, they're not the only country in like Central Asia, but they're the main country in Central Asia, as they're a fairly good place to live. But this lake here will actually start to get so much people here that they start their own civilization. And these guys will be the whatever this colour is. I'm just gonna call these guys the lake country, as it's a lake. What these people do find out though is that it's an ocean, it's a lake, but the grey team will still continue saying it's an ocean. So the grey team's very smart, if you can tell. But yeah, the grey team will say this is not an ocean, this is not a lake, it's an ocean. But I mean, it's been proven that this is a lake. So yeah, weird things. This light purple team will also start expanding some more, but now I have to put my capital down. Their capital will be right here. And yeah, Central Asia is becoming more and more explored. The link up with another lake. This time the grey team thinks it's a lake, and they're 100% right. As yeah, they are. Eventually, all after a few years, all this sand will be discovered. And in Africa, some brave people will go into the Sahara, and what they find is sand. Nothing more, nothing less. But yeah, so they just find sand. But over here, they will also go into Sahara and also find sand. So yeah. Over here in the horn though, the orange team, mm, their lead their leader got into power by saying he'd be anti-expansionist. So leaders at the time of the orange team were dumping a lot of money into this expansion, but the new leaders, the new dictator or monarch, is even more expansionist, imperialist, whatever. And yeah, he makes it a law where unrest in his country will be dealt with if the civilians don't like it or what. So they're gonna have to deal with it, and they're becoming more like the Iraqi team. So yeah, Iraq and the orange team really don't have much of a difference. But now over to Iraq. They know that if they want to survive in this world, they're going to need an ally. So even though they're kind of friendly to the orange team, they need a proper ally. So they will set up an ally over here where Tajikistan is. So this new Tajikistan country will be formed, and it's the ruler of this country will be the brother's ruler. So the ruler of Iraq has a brother, and he will give him his own little kingdom slash empire slash country, whatever you want to call it. And their capital city will be on this thing here. And to be fair, this Tajikistan country, they're not very strong, so Iraq is giving them like aid to make them strong so they can become. I mean, they already are allies, so Iraq can have a strong ally, as of course the Orange team and Iraq aren't really allies, they're close but wouldn't be considered allies. So yeah, this is Iraq's first ever ally and first main ally. So Iraq is going to treat it well. And Iraq will start expanding more because that's what Iraq does. I mean, the leader, he's dead, but his son is pretty much the same person. So he will keep expanding Iraq, even at the civilians' cost. And this makes some civilians mad. So a lot of people are from both Iraq and the Orange team are fleeing to the Yellow team, which actually makes the Yellow team quite populated and quite strong. So they're kind of gaining from this, but Iraq and the Orange team aren't. Over here in Tunisia, the red team will expand some more along the coast, but the pink team is really mad at these guys because, of course, the pink team claims over on this, but they're probably not going to get it. So the pink team will kind of encircle the red team. They start to expand, wrong colour. Um, they start to expand into Africa, eventually getting all the way to here. And of course, their goal is to cut off the red team from any more of Africa, and that is successful. They cut the red team off, and now relations with the red team are horrible, and a a war might happen between them. Pretty much Rome versus Carthage. Anyway, so the pink team will expand into this Libyan area, making a treaty with Egypt to just split up this coastal land, which the treaty, Carthage gets all this, and the rest, of course, will go over to Egypt, which looks like this. But over in Africa, Egypt will start to discover more of the Nile River. Eventually, they find a lake that was probably the source of the Nile, and they explore it, which it's about here, I think. And all this land over here will be explored. So these guys are starting to explore a lot of Africa. Even in the Horn, they're starting to go down the coast, but a lot of land is starting to be explored. And Egypt will lay claim to this coastal area as, I don't know, they just want it, I guess. They also fix their borders with the Orange team and finding some very bad borders, so this goes to them. And it looks very nice. And Egypt will be like the first country to make official claims into the Sahara. And before, they were just exploring it, but now Egypt will start making claims into the Sahara. Now, Egypt at this point is getting really big, and countries at the time of this, I mean, these guys are probably in like 50 BC, but countries back then didn't really get like as big as the red team or Egypt, so they would usually collapse. But Egypt is doing something special. They're sending a lot of people into these areas. You're not into the Sahara because you can't really live in the Sahara Desert, but everywhere else where you can live, they're sending people there. So yeah, Egypt thinks they're fine, but over to Iberia, the Lime team will start to take a lot of it. They won't be able to take this southern land here though, and that's for a very special reason, a new country forms. So welcome Portugal, and what better place to put their capital than Lisbon, which is right here, I think. I don't know. They put their capital in Lisbon. And the red team will now start to explore the coast of France, which actually goes very well. They find a lot of land, and pretty much every country in the world is starting to realise there's more of Europe to discover. So after a few years, they find all this French land, but they're not able to discover the UK, as they're not really going into the waters at this time. But they are starting to explore a lot of Europe, and eventually all of the Alps will be discovered, which They somehow do it. I don't know how. They still do it somehow. No one knows how they do it, but more of the coast of Europe will be discovered as it's easier. I mean, the inland of Europe is also pretty easy to discover, apart from the mountains. Other than that, it's pretty easy to discover Europe. Eventually, the Ukrainians start to discover land too, and they discover all of this until they have to turn back because money. Yeah, these countries don't have a lot of money. It's kind of to be expected as like, the focus of the economies is in like Italy, and Italy's doing well, the Romans doing some weird things. Like yeah, eventually though, all this land here will also be discovered, and explorations into India are getting quite hot as a whole new peninsula has just been discovered. But something happens to the people in discovering India. These people are mainly from the yellow team, but as they're discovering the Indian peninsula, they get eaten by hungry lions. And, the yellow team will wonder where their people went, but after they send some more people out to see what happened, they see dead bodies. And it's kind of weird, after years, their bodies are still there even though they're dead. And people will say it's a religion starting up. And at this point, religions exist as two, three, about six so far. But a new religion has started up, and people are saying these dead bodies are still here because of like God showing them something. So yeah, new religion. Anyways, after sending some more people with weapons to counter hungry animals, they eventually discover all of this. And yeah, that religion stuff starting to get hot. And the religious stuff is happening. And the new religion is very popular in India. But I'm not going to talk about religion in this series as you can make up your own religions. Anyways, all of this will eventually be discovered, and of course, Sri Lanka and the south of India will be discovered. Life is good, but these countries are not able to get past the Himalayas, so yeah. Mentioning Europe, Italy, I must say France, Italy will expand into France, and this is very successful. They also expand into the Alps, but it's very successful. They gain a lot of money from this, and it makes them look strong, as they already are the strongest country in the world, but they're certainly above everyone else in strength, as they're becoming really strong really fast, and I don't like this border. Yeah, that looks better. But kind of to like solidify themselves as an upcoming power, they will declare war on the blue team. Now, the blue team and the red team are very old countries, both started in episode 1, both are very ancient. The blue team lost, of course, Iraq and Caucasia. Speaking of Caucasia, they expand a little bit, not much, but a little bit. But they lost them both from a war of independence, and they'd like them back, but now they don't need to worry about that. So the red team starts sending troops into these islands, and by the time it reaches the king of the blue team, red team troops already started an invasion into the peninsula. Now we can look at this war. Immediately, the blue team will send its own troops to the front line, splitting these troops off and eventually killing them all for moving in. But it seems like it's a distraction, and you wonder why, until boom, a naval landing is made. The first ever naval landing is made in war, and the blue team wasn't expecting this, and immediately troops get pulled from this front line, which has an effect as they're able to take all this coastal land here. Eventually, they will take all this land here, and the blue team isn't looking so good. They've lost a lot of their populated areas, but it will only get worse for them. There's two new countries during this war, one being Caucasia with claims of some blue team land, and Egypt. But you might be asking, why isn't Iraq joining this war? That's because if they join this war, they'd probably get a coalition formed against them. like against the pink. I mean, the pink and yellow teams might declare war on them, and the grey team too, as they don't like Tajikistan being in their area, so they will refrain from joining this war. Immediately, Egypt, whose troops have never been used, this will be the first time Egypt is actually using its troops, and it actually goes very well. They're able to like spike up, take a lot of the coastal areas from the blue team. And the blue team wasn't expecting Egypt to join this war. And speaking of war, Caucasia moves into the blue team, and the blue team really isn't having a fun day. Eventually, the blue team's capital will be captured, and yeah, the blue team will surrender. And we can look at this peace treaty between all these nations. When this peace treaty, blue team's destroyed. Not only do they shrink down to the size of this, they also lose a lot of population, mainly from the red team in Egypt. Pink team took a lot of land. The Egyptians probably take the most amount of land, and the red team takes a lot of population. Now the blue team still has their capital, but it's kind of like in a bad position. The blue team wanted the peace treaty to look something like this with the red team, so their capital would have been fine. But no, you get scammed. I had a voice crack. You probably couldn't hear it because I'm talking a bit quiet. Anyways, to this little country here, after growing their economy and all that, they will start expanding, and they're just a chill country. Like, they don't have any relations with other countries. That's because they really don't need to, because of how like chill they are. Really, no one hates these guys, and yeah, they're just happily expanding, and a lot of people are moving here because it's a happy little country where you're free to do anything. Not anything, as these countries are all still dictatorships slash monarchs. But it's like the closest thing yet to we have to a democracy. I mean, you're allowed your freedom, but you have a dictator, so take it lightly. Well, they expand greatly. The green team, they also expand, kind of to show off to Tajikistan as they hate each other. Both countries hate each other, like they're each other's biggest rivals. And so Iraq now hates the grey team, and the grey team will officially join the alliance with the pink and yellow teams now. I would do like shapes over the countries to show the alliances, but I don't know how to do that. So we're not going to do that. What's yellow team doing? Well, they like I don't want to say they get the permission of the civilians, but the civilians allow the leaders to take this land here and a bit extra. These borders are not very nice. I mean, it's still a dictatorship, this country, but they are people friendly, kind of like a democracy. So, yeah, take it however you want. They take this land. And yeah, they're kind of done expanding, but the orange team isn't done expanding. They want to expand still. But something happens as they start wrong colour. As they start expanding into this African land, a rebellion takes place in the Horn of Africa for their independence. And this is what the rebellion looks like, and it's not good for the orange team. There's more rebellions now in favour of this rebellion, whatever you want to call it. Eventually, these rebellions will be a full-on revolution as they start to kill. Oh, that voice crack was so bad. They start, they start to link up with each other and kill orange team troops. Are trying to suppress this rebellion, but they're kind of suppressing it violently. So of course they're rebelling away. Dumb leader. Anyways, the orange team loses all this land, and with the threat of more rebellions in Arabia and Africa, they will allow to give this country independence, and that's what happens. They get independence, and the peace treaty, the borders will look like this. And now we can put down their capital. And their capital will be right over here. In an alright, I don't know about that location, but the orange team is definitely weakened, and they're starting to look at Iraq as being friends. Anyways, over to Europe. What do we see happening? Well, I'll tell you. All this land here is now known about. And two countries will form. First one will be like a French country. Wait, let me just fill in this island real quick. There we go. So this French country starts, and they'll have their capital in. Should they put their capital in Paris? It would be kind of ironic to have the French capital, the France country in Paris, but it's like really close to the border of the red team. So, not gonna put in Dunkirk. They're gonna put it in Brussels. The next country to form will actually be, I don't know what colour to make it. Now there isn't any purple countries, so making it purple. These guys, no, these guys will be kind of Switzerland slash a bit of Germany. I don't know what to call these guys. They're a weird little country, but nonetheless a cool one. Sounds weird. I'll never say that again. Especially how I said it, like a cool one. It sounds weird. I shouldn't have said that. Anyways, they'll put their capital right here. No, not close enough. Right there. That's because they're starting to expand. I don't know why I didn't show that. I'm a bit weird for that. Look, they start expanding, but bro, red team in the south. Yeah, the red team. They really don't want to stop invading. And even though invading the Alps, don't know. I mean, Hannibal could do it. This new emperor could. So the red team starts invading, and they invade because they had claims over this area. They have a bit of claims over like this area here, but they're not going to invade France, as France has that time to build up. So they would give them kind of a run for their money too. So the purple team will offer peace, and that's what we see, peace treaty, which looks like this now. Purple team is destroyed, and should I do that for the border? It'd look a lot better, but it wouldn't make sense. Now I'll keep it. But yeah, over to these countries here. They hadn't done much, but now this kind of country here, which was born to be a buffer state between the red team and Ukraine, expands. Ukraine also expands, and I shall get rid of this little thing here. It's ugly. I don't like it. I saw it when editing the second video, and I didn't like it. But I couldn't do anything about it. So, Ukraine, they're expanding greatly now. Ukraine, they've been here since episode 1. They're not the stablest they're not the most stable country ever. They're not the richest, not most populated, but they're able to make it work. And they start taking all this land, which is a huge amount of land. And yeah, no one can stop them. The red team can't. Now, they don't have all of Crimea, which could be important later in the series. Like for now, Crimea, there's like a few cities there, no more than 10 cities there. They're not major cities, but major cities don't really exist at this point. They do, like capitals and they're major cities, but major cities don't really exist. And I'm debating whether to do this for Ukraine, as it'd give them access to the Caspian, but I don't think they should be expanding that much, that fast. So, Ukraine, they're dumping a lot of money into their little expansion, and yeah, they're expanding a bit too fast, but they don't care, the Ukraine. Speaking of expanding, this land team here will take a bit of Africa, like Gibraltar, and that's because there's some trade going through here. Not a lot, but a few. I mean, there are a few villages along this African coast, but no civilization. I mean, I'm gonna start one because it'd make a bit more sense. So scrap what I just said. A blue civilization here starts up, and there, this is actually the colour of the blue Carthaginian team from Hades Pro series. I didn't mean it to be. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what I'm saying, sorry. Anyways, they're kind of in the position of the Morocco country, but it kind of is Morocco, but it's not going to be that Morocco country, because you can't have two countries in different. You can't have the same country in a different universe. Yeah. Anyways, they sort of country and they're rich, very lot of trade going through this country. That's why they're rich. And with all this trade, they will explore a bit more, but it's like they don't really need to. I mean, on the coast they explore a lot more. That's because it's the coast. It's no Sahara. But they will make an agreement with this country, which splits up the land like this. I hate these borders, so I'm gonna fix them. And to be fair, I'm using a big brush to make these borders, but at the time, it's not like they'd be perfect borders like I've been doing so far. I mean, these borders aren't perfect, but they would be like rounding. Anyways, these guys as capitals, it would be like, right, no, that would be like the Morocco country from It Is Pro series, and it'd be like I'm copying. I want to do it in Rabbit, but Rabbit's like right there, or here. And I think they'd have their capital on the coast for trade. So I'm going to put their capital, probably not here, because, yeah, I'm going to put their capital right over here, along the coast. Yeah, and there's 4 African countries now, and there's technically 6 countries in Africa. So, yeah, and for the last event of today's video, we go to India, as a new Indian group will start up over here in this little peninsula. And these guys make their capital right over here. Yeah, and that will do it for today's episode. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making this. I had a plan for what to do with episode 3, but look, this map looks a lot different than what I'd planned. So I really hope you've enjoyed it. What I had planned, this little like these 2 countries in Europe didn't exist. Ukraine didn't expand this much. Turkey didn't form. This little blue African country didn't form. But yeah, I'm happy I went with this plan. It looks a lot better. And yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. And bye everyone. Remember to like and subscribe.